Let's talk about the grind. These posters are very easy to find anywhere. As a matter of fact, they're in weight rooms all over the country, coaches' offices, locker rooms. Somewhere out there, someone's working harder than you. Grind this, grind that, no pain, no gain, train insane, pain is just weakness. I mean, it is truly the religion of football, and it's pretty much the religion of our country. The prototypical football coach was a slow-footed, try-hard guy who was a weight room grinder. If you think about it, I believe this is really true. The typical football coach, as a player, was a guy that had to outwork many of his teammates. He was a come early, stay late guy. He worshiped his coach. He was yes sir, no sir. He probably didn't win a lot of races for the track team. He probably was much more comfortable in the weight room than he was on the track. And in that weight room, he really felt good because in the weight room, you get real quick adaptations. You can see a difference in your body after 2 or 3 weeks of hard training, and you never get beat in the race, ever. And then that grinder would go out and watch the wide receiver score 2 touchdowns and would bitch about how that guy would come late and leave early. That guy was not a grinder. In other words, the typical football coach came from this grinder mentality that did not like those fast twitch athletes. The problem is the grind makes it difficult to train your most explosive muscle fibers. This is a direct quote from Christian McCaffrey. And Christian McCaffrey had an MVP year last year, and he did that with a backup quarterback. And he did that with his track coach being his off-season trainer. And Brian Kula is a very good friend of mine, and there will be more Christian McCaffrey mentions as we go on. Tired is the enemy, not the goal. I'm sorry for the track picture here, but this is an important picture to me. This is Ashton Eaton in the red, laying down like he's just about dead. And this is the way decathletes look after the 1,500 meters. And the reason why they look so out of shape in the 1,500 is because the other 9 events are speed and power events. And if they trained for endurance, if they trained to do this one distance event, it would take away from their fast twitch fibers, from their power, from their speed. They run as fast, jump as high, throw the shot put as far. The other 9 events would be hurt by distance training. So they train as speed and power athletes, and then they gut it out for that final event. I think there's a lot to be taken from this idea when we were talking about the conditioning for football. This is one of my favorite people, Vince Anderson, arguably Mount Rushmore of all sprint coaches in the history of this country. He says the lowest intensity work you do should still look like performance. If it doesn't, it will have a detraining effect. Now, he's actually talking about football here. Vince is a huge football fan. He spent most of his years at Texas A&M. When he talks about a 14-point turnaround, he means this. For every day that you go out and do a bunch of senseless conditioning, aerobic work, endurance work, trying to get ready for that fourth quarter type of work, you are missing out on an opportunity to train speed and power. You are doing low intensity work that does not look like performance. So he's saying this, that A, you are hurting the athlete, and B, you're missing out on important speed and power work. He calls it a 14-point turnaround because if you are on the 1-yard line, you should score the touchdown. You should score. It should be a +7. But if you throw an interception on the 1-yard line and it goes 99 yards for a touchdown the other way, you didn't score your 7 and you gave up 7. So it's a 14-point turnaround. So every time you screw up and you do not prioritize speed and power, it is a 14-point turnaround for your program. Now, you got to be careful, though. Once you start buying into these feed the cats ideas and you decide that grinding is not the best way to prepare your team for high performance, when you lose, you will get slammed by every old school person in the world. And let me tell you, old school people outnumber feed the cats people, even though feed the cats is gaining interest all over the United States. It still seems like it's 100-1. Old school versus new school. So anyway, this is a great tweet that somebody put out, week 1 opener, Iowa State versus Louisiana. The commentators were talking about how the great coaches at Iowa State really don't believe that the grinding in practice is not the best way to do it. That we want high performance. We do not want, like super well conditioned athletes that are constantly running slow, and we get them tired every day and all that stuff. So obviously they lost the first game, and some troll said, hey, how'd it work out for them? So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you're going to be up against when you decide that you want high performance racehorses. But I do want to look at that game. I'm sorry, but you say, how'd it work out for them? Iowa State had more first downs, more total yards. They only had 3 penalties in the game. And so it wasn't like they got their ass kicked. What beat them? It was things other than their method of practicing. 95-yard kick return, a 78-yard touchdown pass, an 83-yard punt return, and Louisiana pitched a perfect game. 0 turnovers. Iowa State had 2 huge turnovers. So if you have those things on the right, how tired your guys are every day at practice has no bearing on these things. We'll talk about this later, but it just seems like everybody always wants to point to endurance or conditioning and being in shape as the reason why you lost. It's either that or toughness, or the both of them. Nobody wants to talk about the real reasons why teams lose.